Hello, good morning to all. I'm Nikhat Fatima from GG College. Today I'm going to explain the play Before Breakfast, which is written by Eugene O'Neill. Okay, he was one of the foremost American dramatists and the winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1936. Popular for his masterpieces such as Beyond the Horizon, Anna Christie, Strange Interlude, and The Iceman Comet. He was the first American dramatist to regard the stage as a literary medium. Through his efforts, the American theatre grew up during the 1920s, developing into a cultural medium that could take its place with the best in American fiction, painting, and music. His plays are the result of an intensely personal point of view. The plays reflect the scarring effects of tragic relationships, and he seems to be caught and torn between love and rage. The present play, Before Breakfast, okay, shows an unhappily married couple living out sad lives, and the story tells of what could happen when dreams and aspirations are dashed by cold reality and hardship. As a result, we see two desperate people struggling with one another in a downward spiral. Seduce Mrs. Rowland, still a young girl, was naive and opportunistic. She used her sexuality to seduce and then marry Alfred Rowland, who was the heir of his father's millions. Her resulting pregnancy ended in stillbirth. As if this were not enough, Alfred's father died, not a millionaire but a pauper, and led them to deep debt. Mrs. Rowland has lost whatever pleasantness she once possessed and has descended into a state of personal neglect, alcoholism, and bitter selfishness. Okay, now I will explain you about the play. Before Breakfast is set in the early fall in a village flat on Christopher Street, beginning at 8:30 a.m. The play presents Mrs. Rowland, who directs all of her comments on stage to her husband, Alfred, who is off stage in the bedroom. The unhappy Mrs. Rowland is described as shrewish by most critics, as she spends the entire play berating her sensitive poet husband, whose only success seems to be wooing other women. She reveals that pregnancy foods their marriage, and she bemoans the extent to which they have fallen from their former selves. She condemns her husband's drinking, his inability to get a job, even the flat in which they live. At one point, the husband's hand reaches out to be seen on stage to accept some shaving water from the wife. As she continues, the wife reveals she is found a letter from his lover and that she will never give him a divorce. We hear a stifled groan of pain and then the noise of a chair being overturned and something crashing heavily to the floor from off stage, to which the wife goes to investigate when she receives no response to her inquiry. She discovers the husband's on the floor of the bedroom, having committed suicide by slashing his throat, which sends the wife shrieking madly, and the play ends as she runs out their front door. The Gelbs feel that O'Neill himself obviously was the model of the suicidal husband, from the wife's description of the husband as someone who was Harvard educated but now loafs around barrooms, to him killing time with that good for nothing lot of artists from the square, down to the description of the sensitive hand with slender fingers. It trembles. Bogart believes that this is the first play in 2 years in which something of O'Neill's authentic voice can be heard. No other among his plays of the period so clearly anticipates the next major phase of his career. Finsot sees this play, along with Strindberg's, as prefiguring an extreme simplicity later to be seen in the works of Samuel Beckett. He sees Before Breakfast combined with Lima Bones, allowing this bill to offer a common style around self-imposed imitation. O'Neill cast the young and delicately beautiful Mary Pine in the role of Mrs. Roland, an odd juxtaposition with actress and character. Hanaud described that lovely Mary Pine drew back her red hair into a slopey knot and gave a fine performance. And the Gelbs described that she concealed her alabaster complexion with makeup of a pinched virago. O'Neill also cast himself in the offstage role of the husband, knowing that his father's waning career left him with time to his hands. O'Neill invited Father James to attend a rehearsal of the play. Others who were there remembered the seasoned actor's grandiose presence, describing him as a striking figure with a fur collared coat, gold headed cane, and a diamond ring on his finger. Hutchins describes that the elder O'Neill did not approve the diction or business of the actress. He began to show her how acting was done, how points were made, with the voice and gesture of Monte Cristo. Pine wisely did everything he instructed. Gestures, melodramatic inflections, and all. And James told her, "You are a most intelligent young actress. I don't need to give you any further instructions." As he left, Habgood and others spoke to him about his son's talent, and he said benignly, "Yes, I think the boy has something in him." While this was going on, O'Neill and Byron's affair was in a rocky state. O'Neill returned to heavy drinking because Byron was very ill and drank more heavily still when she left on November 22nd to be with Reed during his operation. When Byron returned to New York, she began to pack up the apartment for a move to the home in Croton that Reed had purchased for them. When she found out that before breakfast was to be performed, she remained in the village, and Cook's request served as the prompter for the play. Cook, hoping her presence would keep O'Neill speculation by biographers. Many believing it to be the result of an abortion gone bad with O'Neill, the one to have impregnated her. She described that she could feel her insides. Byron actually wrote Reed, wondering if he had given her something during their visits. Reed's doctor assured him this was impossible with his kidney ailment. Eventually, she recovered and Reed returned to New York, taking her away to Croton, where they both remained through the holidays. O'Neill moved into his parents' apartment for a while. Thank you.